we have known about what happens when you traumatize people, okay? So, I've said it before on this channel, right? I had a rough childhood. I have no problem giving more details, but I don't want to dive into all that unless somebody actually wants to hear it. But the reason I bring that up is the premise of this little snippet of my story is that I was diagnosed with PTSD in 1996. This was before it was a buzzword. I was 15 years old. I was in CAPS, Children and Adolescent Psychiatric Services. This was in San Diego, California. And honestly, I wish I could have told more of what had happened to me at that time, because when you're abused by somebody, right? Like Stockholm syndrome type stuff. Like I know there's a lot of people out there who know what I'm saying. The abuser will condition you to like make you think that the whole world is trying to get you, right? And they're the only ones that can save you. That's part of their ploy. So I went with that. I didn't tell them all the whole stories and stuff, right? But when I got diagnosed, they said, we think you have PTSD. And I go, well, what is that? And they told me post-traumatic stress disorder. They said this is what happens to like war people who go to war and really bad things happen to them, right? I was diagnosed with that forever ago. Now check this out. When I was 5, my parents got this divorce, right? My parents both had prominent parents, right? But they were like crazy cokeheads, bro, and they cared more about partying than doing anything else. Like I was a crack baby. Like literally, like my mom told me at one point, like she did all this cocaine with me in the womb and all this stuff. Like I had some sort of trust fund one of my grandpas set up, and she managed to raid it for cocaine. When I was a little kid, my family members would send money, and she'd just keep it. Like, oh, grandma sent me $100 check. She'd be like, yeah, well, you'll buy candy with it, so I'm just going to keep it forever. Yeah, dude. And so I bring that up to and also too. So when I was a little kid, right, and my parents got divorced, I was like 5 years old. I'm living with my grandparents now. When I was a young kid in San Diego, like I remember being 3 years old. I'd wake up at 3 years old. This was 1984, and I would just open the door and take off. I got a 3-year-old son right now, right? And I don't sleep in because of him, dude. If I woke up at 3 a.m. on a Saturday and he took off, I would lose my freaking mind. Like, ain't no way, dude. But, this is back when you didn't actually have to take care of your kids. It's weird, right? How like, the elderly population, they didn't take care of their kids. They sold out the whole country, but now they're going to write a bunch of laws and hold everybody else accountable for children. Like, I think it's good. I think you should be held accountable for children. But I also think to some degree these laws should be retroactive. Like, if you were a shitbag fucking parent. But neither here nor there. So I'm talking about this. Give me one sec. So, yeah. So, when I was really young, I just ran around like freewheeling kid. I asked my mother when I was a little bit older, what was I like to potty train? Because I had a younger sister. I was super hyped about my little sister coming. And she told me, she's like, I don't know, because I really didn't potty train you. You got potty trained by, like, neighborhood kids. And I remember being 3 years old and going to the potty. Like, I can remember wetting my bed, like, a couple times, like, maybe once or twice. I remember one. And it was because I was having a dream where I was going to the toilet. What's wild, right, is my mom's dad, right, and all the children my mother had except for me had some sort of huge bedwetting problem, right? And I think part of that, too, I don't know what's up with my grandpa, but I know, like, I spent less time with my mom than any of the rest of them. Well, no, that's not true, because I have a brother who grew up with my grandparents, and that kid wore pull-up sleeves 14, which is wild. Um, but yeah, when I was a little kid, my parents got divorced. I'd been free roaming it my whole life, right? And my grandparents, my dad's parents, who took me in, and my little brother, who I just mentioned, I was five-ish, he was one. I was born in 81, he was born in 86. But see, they were doing like the late 80s boomer thing to where like he ran a company, he's making bank. She my grandma, she was like a bean counter. They say it derogatory, but I don't think there's anything derogatory about it. Like, you want to know why beans are important? Look up how beans fueled the Industrial Revolution. Look that up, bro. There's a reason. Beans are important. But she was a bean counter. He owned a company, but they both worked all day. And so I went from living in an apartment complex with a bunch of like little rugged kids to my grandparents' house in a small town in Colorado with like a basement and nobody watching me. Nobody paid attention to me. And I was a wild kid. I watched a lot of Nickelodeon and stuff back then. I thought you were supposed to be a wild and crazy kid. You know what I mean? So I wasn't the ideal little dude. But so my grandparents, they didn't know any better, but they sent me to a psychologist at UNC. It's in Northern Colorado, University of Northern Colorado. This is a funny story too. So sent me to the psychologist, talked to him, right? They prescribed me Ritalin and they give me the ADHD logo. Here's the thing, dude. I might have had ADHD. Like, I don't, my thing was, now that I'm a grown up and I've only realized this, I'm 45 now, and like, I live a chill life where I get to digest this stuff, and that's why I can talk about it. Bro, I was a kid who grew with a lot of energy, who grew up in a wild environment, and then you put me in your big house with your fancy stuff and no supervision. I messed stuff up. So I went to that psychologist, right? And we would walk. Now there's on that college campus is split by a tunnel on one of the major streets of town. I think it's 8th Avenue. And it splits it. It might be 10th. I forget exactly which avenue, but if you know Greeley, Colorado, you know what I'm talking about. And they got that tunnel that goes under that main road. And this was the 80s. This guy walks me through the tunnel, right? We're walking, we're talking. Like, I don't think he was very good at his job because I can remember talking to him, but he never asked me about, like, my past or anything like that. Like, I don't know. It just felt very ambiguous. Like I'm just here to play toys with you and walk with you. And he gave me Ritalin. But anyway, and the Ritalin didn't help. To be perfectly honest, when I was a kid, I don't think it improved or disproved anything. Like, I was such a force of nature, it didn't freaking matter, dude. Like, and now I have a 3-year-old son, and I see, like, yeah, he's just like me, bro. This kid has infinite energy. He's strong AF. And his mom, she has 2 older sons. They are not like that. They are chill kids. Her whole family is chill. And my whole family is absolutely wired to the freaking hilt, right? But anyway, he walks me through this tunnel, and this was in the 80s. There was a bunch of graffiti and spray paint all in this tunnel, right? And so I asked him, because, dude, when I was a kid, I was super curious. I was that why kid. I am still that why person. Like, I'm that type of person, you can point out, like, a random item, right? Like, dude, I could tell you, like, how it was manufactured, probably where the materials came from, how they built it, where they might have built it, how they assembled the pieces, how the shipping works. Like my brain's always worked like that. But I asked him, I go, why is there all this paint? Why? And this was his answer, right? Dude, my family was mad at me a long time for this, but this was his answer, okay? He goes, well, people think it's cool to come in here and spray paint in here, right? So my little brain heard, oh man, People think it's cool. I want to do what people think is cool. So later that night, I get to my grandparents' house. It's like it's not big and wide, but it does kind of sit on multi levels. Like you walk in, you got a living room, take a step down, you got kitchen and dining room, then you got stairs to your left that goes down to a den, and there's also like a master bed set up down there, and then you got a little more stairs that go down to a basement. I go down that basement, I found some spray paint. I spray painted the hell out of the walls of those basement. I took black spray paint and I streaked it all up, right? And here's also too, like if you're taking care of a kid who is abused, take note to this, right? Because when I was a kid, right, because my mother used to beat the brakes off of me. She beat me into the hospital when I was 3 years old, right? So like I would never ask permission for shit, and I would do shit, but then I would be so scared when you'd ask me why I did it. It would just be like, I don't know. And it's just because I see you're mad and I can get beaten. Even though if I would have explained to him at the time why that happened, Grandpa might not have spanked me. But Grandpa spanked me. I got in trouble. And my grandpa was an amazing dude, okay? He spanked me twice my whole life that I can remember. He was a super nice man. And he did a lot of good for a lot of people in the family. Like, he was a good dude to have in your family. So I'm not saying anything disrespectful to him. But what I'm saying is the way my mother treated me, right? And the way the abuse is like architected, the way it's built, right? That's what allows the abusers to not get in trouble. Also, too, that's what allows the abused to turn into abusers, right? Because, so let's say I would have grown up in that whole cycle of abuse, right? And then I would have started abusing people later and just thinking it's normal, right? So it's like an induction thing, dude. It's like a secret society. And so I just wanted to rant a little bit. I've been working on this YouTube channel for like a year. I definitely think I got a lot of good stuff to say. I don't have a ton of money, right? I wish I had a computer and I could just sit at home and produce stuff. I have a really good memory. I can remember a lot of stuff. I can take in a lot of information. I can compile it. I can digest it. And I'm like not really biased, dude. Like I want what's best for people, So I think that would be like my contribution to the YouTube space is I can take in information, filter out the bias, and just give it to you straight, man. I've never voted in my life. Why would I? No, neither party has my best interest in mind. The only people who vote are the people who don't want property values and stock markets to crash. All right, you guys have a good night. Enjoy your weekend.